For the past 20 years or so, there has been one company standing tall as the epitome of actually proper consumer advocacy for customers on a consistent basis. This company provided possibly the best refund policy you could actually ask for in video games, consistently puts the customer and consumer first above anything else, and they always provide you with proper clarity of what you're actually purchasing. And that one company is in fact Steam. The thing is though, Valve and Steam have been under quite a bit of hot water over the past couple of days, and it turns out it all has to do with a rule change that provided specific tagging for developers in their games and what you get to see on Steam's storefront as well. And that rule specifically has to cite a massive change on what AI content is allowed on Steam and what developers have to then disclose as part of AI content in their games. This all comes right off the heels after Expedition 33 won tons of awards, but was also being lambasted online for using AI-generated content as placeholder art inside of their game, even though that placeholder art was then removed by actual artists and proper art was placed in afterwards. This also comes right off the heels of Larian Studios as well, saying they were using generative AI for actual storyboarding and concept art creation in their games, even though after an actual Reddit AMA, they decided to not use any Gen AI at all. But the thing is, this goes back even further before that. In fact, it goes back to November of last year when Tim Sweeney took a swipe at Steam. A few months back on November 26th, Tim Sweeney in fact said this: "Agreed, the AI tag is relevant to art exhibits for authorship disclosure and to digital content licensing marketplaces where buyers need to understand the rights situation. It makes no sense for game stores where AI will be involved in nearly all future production." And this tweet is actually what sparked all of this off going on with Steam and Valve and their AI tag specifically. The thing is though, AI is going to be introduced into all forms of gaming production. Tim Sweeney is correct about that. The difference though is that Tim Sweeney wants unregulated AI usage across basically every single game. And the big difference here is customers and consumers need to know what AI is being used, how much is being used, and what is actually being impacted in their game directly. And I think that's going to be where Tim Sweeney definitely had a fall off and why Valve had to make this specific change. But there's more though that Tim said as well. Tim Sweeney also tweeted out the same day saying, "Why stop at AI use? We could have mandatory disclosures for what shampoo brand the developer uses. Customers deserve to know, LOL." Now, of course, clearly you can tell that Tim Sweeney is being an absolute about the entire situation, and he's basically just angry that people are happy about Valve providing the AI tag specifically to customers and consumers and letting devs know, hey, if you use AI artwork or anything AI related in your games, you have to disclose it for the customer as well. And that's honestly a good thing. People who are spending their money should know what kind of product they're in fact buying, whether it actually is nothing more than just AI slop, or if it is in fact handcrafted by actual developers for their game specifically to be purchased. But there's a reason why I bring this up specifically, because it looks like Tim Sweeney is trying to take a victory lap after Valve made a massive sweeping change to their AI policies and what is required for developers to in fact disclose for what kind of AI is in fact being used in their games. Because according to VGC, Valve has, quote, significantly rewritten Steam's rules for how game developers must disclose AI use, clarifying that AI-powered tools do not require a disclosure. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you this right now. We're going to find out who actually knows how to read or retweets things without actually reading the article as well. It's going to be an incredibly fun time, because the thing is this: Valve's change to AI and what game developers should be disclosing is actually a good thing. No, I'm not kidding. You see, previously, anything that had any sort of AI usage at all would be required to have that tag specifically added onto that game. And for some games, it made a lot of sense. Things like Arc Raiders is a good example. A game that specifically notes that it in fact does use AI generative content that you consume as an actual player in said game. Whether it's a ping system, whether it's voiceovers, whether it's artwork, it's there and listed. And that is a good thing for customers and consumers to know. And it does prove that even if you have AI content in your game, that doesn't mean that it's going to be a death nail for your actual title to be successful. Your game can still be good, even if it does use AI in some capacity. But the big ticket about this entire thing isn't just the fact that game developers are using AI, it's the fact that AI is going to be ubiquitous in game development completely. But you know what, before we get into why this is actually a good change by Valve and Steam, let's see what the article had to say and go from there. As spotted by Game Discover Co. Simon Carless, Valve has made it clearer that AI-powered tools such as code helpers do not require a disclosure, and that efficiency gains through the use of AI-powered dev tools is not the focus of its efforts. The first of the two types of AI use that developers will have to disclose is AI to generate content for the game, whether that is within the game, on its store page, or in marketing materials. The second is, quote, AI content generated during gameplay, and whether the game in question generates AI-created images, audio, text, and other content. Since 2024, Valve has required developers to disclose on Steam whether generative AI was used in the creation of their games. This then appears on the game store page in a section called AI-generated content disclosure. That right there has to be the funniest clapback to Tim Sweeney I've honestly ever seen. Valve is not just going around and saying, hey, if you use any AI-powered tool, you have to then disclose that you used it. No, what they're focusing on and what they're looking at is actually the protection of actual artists and actual musicians and everyone else using AI tools right now in the gaming space. Tim Sweeney may have been right about one thing. AI tools are in fact being used by basically everyone in gaming. The difference is, though, Timmy Tim, that game developers should not be given carte blanche to go through and use AI for every single aspect of the game development. They should do it where it actually fits the best. And the thing is, even Gabe Newell admits that using AI is going to be a powerful tool compared to people that actually don't use it. According to PC Gamer, Gabe Newell says AI is a significant technology transition on a par with the emergence of computers or the internet, and will be a, quote, cheat code for people who want to take advantage of it. If I had to point to a technology transition to get in front of, it's to figure out how to use AI to do anything better. In fact, this isn't the only positive take we're going to be seeing about AI usage in game development either. It can be done the correct way. And one historic game developer is in fact choosing the right way to actually use AI properly in game development. With the article from The Gamer saying this, Hideo Kojima thinks of AI as more of a friend, but one that he'd only let handle the tedious tasks of development that would lower the cost and cut down on time. The mind behind Metal Gear Solid and Death Stranding would lead the creative part and use AI to boost efficiency. And that statement, not only by Gabe himself, but also by Kojima and many other devs as well, is exactly why Valve had to make that change for its AI tagging system. Simply because, as a game developer, it is literally your job to cut down on costs and improve efficiency over time when making that actual game. The problem, though, is the AI tag itself before was in fact too generic, and any game developer that used any AI tool whatsoever, even if it was for code efficiency, would have to disclose that AI was used in that game. And Valve has been getting ahead of the curve simply because AI has been a massive problem on Steam already, even before this actual change. Because also according to VGC, Steam games disclosing generative AI use are up 800% in 2025. Around 20% of all games released so far in 2025 have disclosed using generative AI. And that's where things are getting really insane. An 800% increase of AI use in game development really is insane to hear, but not when you really think about it logically and what's actually happening in the gaming space right now. Look at Unreal Engine 5. They literally have their own AI suite built into the actual game development engine. And things like Photoshop as well have massive AI tools. And basically anything right now that is helping game developers make games has AI included in that actual pipeline for game dev. So if that AI tag was still in place without any change, what would happen is basically every game loaded onto Steam would require that AI tag at the very beginning, basically just putting everything down and making that tag completely worthless for any user wanting to find out whether AI was used in their game or not. And the majority of the time, people aren't looking for whether or not the code was actually efficiently optimized with AI, or if someone used Copilot in GitHub to make things a little bit easier for them to code something, or to make like an if-then statement or a loop for whatever, what people are looking for in terms of generative AI or AI in games is whether or not artwork has been used, music has been used, or in fact the game itself is nothing more than just AI slop that's been rehashed, sort of like an Unreal Engine 5 asset flip. And that's really the entire crux of this whole thing. People were going around and trying to lambaste Valve, not really understanding what the actual change truly entailed. In fact, here's what the actual screenshot of a developer side looks like, with the newly updated AI page saying this: "We are aware that many modern game development environments have AI-powered tools built into them. Efficiency gains through the use of these tools is not the focus of this section. Instead, it is concerned with the use of AI in creating content that ships with your game and is consumed by the players. This includes content such as artwork, sound, narrative, localization, etc. Does this game use generative artificial intelligence to generate the content for the game, either pre-rendered or live generated? This includes the game itself, the store page, and any Steam community assets or marketing materials. Mark yes or no." And this is why it's so good to have this distinction and why people were in fact jumping the gun on what Valve is in fact doing. Steam and Valve were not trying to go around and shove AI into a corner and just go ahead and skate by it or sweep it under the rug. No, what they're doing is they're having a clear distinction between, are you optimizing your workflow as a game developer? Cool, that's fine, normal. Everybody's going to be doing that. That's not a big deal. Or are you using AI to basically make all the artwork, all the music, all the voices and everything else and just pump it onto our store page? That's going to be the big difference. And that's exactly what people are looking for. They want to know that the game they're playing, the artwork they're seeing, the music they're hearing is made by actual people. And they totally understand that there are in fact vibe coders out there that will use AI to code their game. And that's exactly why that entire section was changed and made, because if anybody using a tool to optimize their efficiency in their code, they'd have to mark it down. But somebody who used AI to vibe code everything together and pump it out, they'd have to mark yes. This makes it incredibly clear for the customer and consumer saying, oh, people made this. There's going to be AI use in it some way, but this was actually done by an actual human being. And the content I'm seeing, the music I'm hearing, that was also done by people. And that's a good thing overall, because now it draws a hard line in the sand. And it gets even better because Valve also put the power in your hands. Content generated during gameplay. Because the live generation of AI content can produce novel images, audio, text, and other content which neither the developer nor the Steam review process can verify through standard processes, it is important that you make honest and accurate disclosures about your implementation and its usage. In addition, we will provide users with the tools through the Steam overlay to flag inappropriate or copyright infringing output. It is the responsibility of you, the developer, to implement guardrails that will prevent users from being exposed to inappropriate and illegal content. Failure to do so will result in your app being pulled from the store. This is exactly what customers and consumers need. The ability for game developers to take full accountability of how they're marking their games properly and signifying to the actual customer consumer, hey, we do not have generative AI assets in this game. We did use AI for our coding, for our workflow, just like everybody else is doing. So yeah, here's our game, AI free. And that's exactly what customers are in fact looking for. And if people go around and find AI assets in your game, they can mark it correctly and you can have your app removed. So it's honestly better to tell the truth from the first time. That way, us as consumers won't go around and start pulling you from the store page. Clearly, because if you're going to make slop, then you're going to get called out for it. And again, this is why Valve keeps winning and why Steam seems to do the right thing. As much as Tim Sweeney wants to pretend to gloat like he went around proving that he was right the entire time, clearly he never read the actual fucking article or in fact what was happening inside of Steam in the first place. And it really goes to show that anyone else trying to pop off about this doesn't truly understand what Valve's motives are and what's actually happening. Because if Valve didn't make this change, then basically the AI tag would be effectively useless, simply because everyone's workflow includes AI in some capacity. And because of that, everything would just be labeled as AI generative content, providing an actual ability for AI slop to be swept under the rug and be sold onto the platform without notifying the customer and consumer properly. And that's the biggest issue overall. Valve had to go through and find some way of being able to separate people using AI to just make everything and people using AI for a workflow, and that's what people are looking for. The ability to find out if the game itself has AI generative content instead of actually having AI being used to make their day work a little bit easier when making the game by human beings in the first place. AI itself is not a criminal offense. AI itself is in fact a tool to be used properly. And if used correctly and still used by people and not used as a replacement for people, then it actually works out the right way. And people who don't want AI slop get exactly what they want. Games made by people with the proper tools and nothing easily generated or vibe coded and put out to make easy cash and take advantage of customers and consumers in the first place. But I think the funniest thing about all this isn't the fact that Valve went out and made this change correctly for the customer. It's the fact that people went ahead and jumped the gun, not realizing what is actually going on. Carla Ortiz on Twitter said this: a terrible and gross decision by @Valve Software. Customers deserve to know how their games are made so they can decide whether they wish to support exploitative slop or not. Hiding this only causes distrusts, damages the brand, and hurts the industry. Reverse this decision. Remember back just a little bit ago when I said people just don't read the article and they pop off on the headline? Well, Carla, here's your sign. Literally going around not understanding a single fucking thing that was said about what Valve is doing or why they're doing it, and you're turning around and saying that it's gross. People deserve to know. The thing is, Carla, under the old way that Valve was doing it, nobody would know because the AI tag would be applied across every single game and every single aspect of Steam itself. The difference is that if you actually read what was happening, just like everybody else is calling you out on the quote retweets, you would finally understand that you were in fact wrong. Hell, you know what? You proved it yourself when you went ahead and locked the replies because you knew you fucked up. You knew it was a bad take and you went ahead and did it anyways. And the scarier part is the actual virtue signaling of other people liking this tweet in response and saying, "Oh yes, Queen, you sure showed Valve," not understanding what is in fact happening. Valve is not trying to hide AI from customers and consumers. They're giving customers and consumers the proper tools to call out AI slop on the platform. Let game developers know if you get called out, your game is pulled, and then still provide developers who are using AI tools properly in their workflow to still use them and still be able to provide their game that is made by actual people with just the tools themselves and not as an actual replacement. Literally, Valve is doing the thing that all these people want companies to do, and they're still mad about it in the actual end. And if you think it's just Valve and PC gaming, well, you might have another thing coming, because according to Automaton, over 50% of Japanese game companies use AI in development, according to the Tokyo Game Show organizer. That's right, 50% of Japanese game developers are using AI in game development. Under Valve's own actual rules, that AI tag would be applied across every game that 50% of those devs are in fact using AI, basically making it completely irrelevant to even have that tag in the first place, granting Tim Sweeney his actual wish. The difference though is, Carla and so many others, the new AI tag would be completely dependent upon whether or not that game developer used AI in their workflow throughout their day to make the game themselves as people, or whether or not they used AI to replace people and create artwork that you are consuming as a customer as you are playing the game. That is the biggest difference about what we're seeing and what people truly aren't understanding, why Valve is doing this as the best way for you as a customer and where you're going to spend your money. Thereby stating when a game has an AI tag, you can clearly understand artwork is being used here by AI, music is being used here by AI, localization or even voiceovers are AI here in this game as well, and the customer can choose whether or not to buy that game. With that tag no longer there, they can clearly understand a game dev may have used AI tools to make their workflow easier, but that game was still made by actual human beings, and the customer can be assured that the artwork, the music, the localization, the voiceovers, all that there that they are consuming directly when they're playing the game is in fact made by proper people, and they were compensated, hopefully, correctly. And that's the entire point of this tagging system. Anyone who jumped the gun on this and said Valve did the wrong thing clearly never read the article. Clearly, they didn't know what they were talking about, and they went ahead and decided to shit on Steam, not realizing that we've already crossed the Rubicon on what AI is in fact doing in game development, when the fact that Unreal Engine 5, like I said before, has AI AI tools built into the actual engine itself for game dev on its own. And basically everybody is using UE5 right now. And this is why, in my opinion, Valve still is the best place to go ahead and buy your games, and understand why they are always focusing on the customer and consumer first. They give you the proper tools, they give you the actual power, and then they provide you the ability to go through and actually understand exactly what you're buying instead of actually being surprised later on in the end. This is the kind of transparency that companies like Epic Games and Tim Sweeney clearly do not understand about why people like Steam and Valve so much, compared to their own storefront that clearly is nothing more than just a Fortnite skin shop in the very beginning. So Tim Sweeney, little piece of advice, maybe next time, try harder. People might actually buy a fucking game on your storefront instead of just going ahead and just using it for Fortnite and getting a free game and logging off. You clown. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, I want to hear what you guys have to say about this in the comments section down below. Do you think this is a good change that Valve did for their AI generated tags, or do you think they could have done more as well? I want to hear what you guys have to say. And speaking about what you have to say, here in fact is the comment of the day from yesterday's video, with Gen X Gamer saying this: "Time to humble these corpse. Retro gaming is a start." That's right, Gen X Gamer. Retro gaming is in fact on its way back, and I'm incredibly excited about that as well. We're going to be making more emulation videos and even playing older games on the second channel on top of it. It's called Oh No, It's Alex Gaming. It's in the description down below. But like I said before, I want to hear what you guys have to say, and if your comment's good enough, you'll be on the comment of the day. If you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and even live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 105K. And I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access or most during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on the channel as I wear a banana suit and get insulted by 800 people with AI TTS. Trust me, it's a hell of a show. You don't want to miss it. Saturday nights, live, right here, 8:45 p.m. Eastern on the channel. Also, I've got a super secret gaming channel where I'm going to be posting emulation videos and just other videos as well, just stuff I wanted to do that doesn't fit really here. It's called Oh No, It's Alex Gaming. Check it out. We did a Warhammer 40K reaction video, and I'm almost done making a video about my time with the PlayStation 2 and my insane midlife crisis. It's going to be a fun one, trust me. With all that being said, though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!